The saga of the United States' pursuit of Osama bin Laden has defined the modern era of global conflict and counterterrorism. From the early days of al-Qaeda's rise to power in the late 20th century to the devastating attacks of September 11, 2001, this conflict shaped the course of world history. The relentless search for bin Laden, culminating in his death in 2011, serves as both a victory for justice and a reminder of the ongoing battle against extremism. Today, we dive deep into the story of USA versus Osama bin Laden, exploring the twists and turns of this monumental pursuit and its lasting impact on global security. Welcome to Journey Through Eras, where we examine the events that shaped our world. The rise of Osama bin Laden. Born in 1957 to a wealthy Saudi family, Osama bin Laden was a man of contradictions. Though born into luxury, his personal ideology and his early experiences in Afghanistan during the Soviet-Afghan War shaped him into a radical jihadist. He became a key figure in the Afghan resistance against the Soviet Union, using his family's wealth to fund and support the efforts. Following the Soviet withdrawal from Afghanistan, bin Laden's focus shifted from fighting a foreign invader to targeting those he viewed as enemies of Islam, particularly the United States. His primary grievance stemmed from the presence of U.S. troops in Saudi Arabia, home to Islam's two holiest sites, and America's support for Israel, which he perceived as an affront to Muslims around the world. In the late 1980s, bin Laden founded al-Qaeda, an organization dedicated to using violent jihad to achieve his ideological goals. His hatred for the U.S. and its allies only deepened over the years, leading to a series of attacks against American targets. The first attack, the U.S. Embassy bombings. Bin Laden's first major direct attack on the United States came in 1998, when al-Qaeda orchestrated bombings of U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania. The attacks killed over 200 people, including 12 Americans, and injured thousands more. The U.S. responded with cruise missile strikes against suspected al-Qaeda training camps in Afghanistan, but the mastermind behind the bombings remained elusive. The embassy bombings were just the beginning of bin Laden's deadly crusade against the West. The world would soon come to realize that this was merely the prelude to a far more devastating assault. September 11, 2001, the attack that changed the world. The most significant and horrifying chapter in the saga of U.S. bin Laden relations occurred on September 11, 2001. Coordinated by al-Qaeda, bin Laden's group hijacked 4 commercial airliners, crashing 2 into the World Trade Center towers in New York City and another into the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. The 4th plane, United Airlines Flight 93, crashed in Pennsylvania after passengers fought back against the hijackers. Nearly 3,000 people were killed in the deadliest terrorist attack in history. This brazen assault on American soil shocked the world and left a permanent scar on the collective psyche of the U.S. It marked the beginning of a new phase in the U.S. pursuit of bin Laden, as the U.S. government vowed to bring those responsible for the attacks to justice, no matter the cost. The U.S. response: the War on Terror. In the aftermath of the 9/11 attacks, the United States, under President George W. Bush, launched what became known as the War on Terror. The U.S. initially focused on dismantling al-Qaeda and its affiliates to prevent further attacks on American soil. The Bush administration's first action was to invade Afghanistan in October 2001, where the Taliban regime had provided sanctuary to bin Laden and al-Qaeda. While the U.S. military quickly overthrew the Taliban, bin Laden and other al-Qaeda leaders managed to escape. Bin Laden's whereabouts remained uncertain, and the U.S. was forced to engage in an extensive manhunt across the rugged Afghan mountains and beyond. The mission was clear: capture or kill Osama bin Laden and destroy al-Qaeda's network. The long pursuit, a global manhunt. The hunt for bin Laden was long, exhausting, and frustrating. The U.S. government invested billions of dollars in intelligence and military operations, relying on a combination of CIA operatives, military personnel, and intelligence gathered from around the world. Despite numerous attempts to locate bin Laden, he remained elusive. For years, Bin Laden's precise location was unknown, but there were periodic reports of sightings, which led to military and intelligence operations. However, Bin Laden's ability to hide in the mountains of Afghanistan and Pakistan, often with the support of local allies, made him nearly impossible to capture. One of the most significant developments came in 2005 when Bin Laden released a video message confirming his involvement in the 9/11 attacks. This message, which was broadcast worldwide, renewed calls for his capture and further united global support for the war on terror. The breakthrough, the Abbottabad operation. After nearly a decade of hunting, the breakthrough finally came in 2011. U.S. intelligence agencies, working together with partners in Pakistan, discovered a compound in the Pakistani city of Abbottabad that was believed to be housing Bin Laden. The compound was unusually secure and isolated, raising suspicions that high-ranking figures might be hiding there. After months of surveillance, the U.S. military, under President Barack Obama, launched a covert operation to capture or kill Bin Laden. On May 2, 2011, Navy SEALs from SEAL Team 6, operating under the codename Operation Neptune Spear, raided the compound. During the raid, Bin Laden was killed in a firefight, bringing an end to the global manhunt that had lasted nearly a decade. The aftermath, a new era in counterterrorism. Bin Laden's death marked a significant victory in the U.S. fight against terrorism. It was a powerful symbolic victory, demonstrating that no one, no matter how elusive, could evade justice forever. However, it did not mark the end of terrorism or al-Qaeda's threat. While Bin Laden's death weakened the group, his ideology and influence continued to inspire radical groups across the world. In the years following his death, the U.S. continued to engage in military operations and counterterrorism measures against al-Qaeda, ISIS, and other extremist groups. Despite the loss of its leader, al-Qaeda's ideology lived on, and the U.S. remained vigilant in its efforts to combat terrorism on all fronts. As we look back on the intense decade-long manhunt for Osama bin Laden, we see not only a story of vengeance and justice, but one that forever altered the course of history and the global landscape of terrorism. While bin Laden's death was a significant moment in the war on terror, the legacy of his actions continues to influence global security efforts to this day. Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of the most defining conflicts of our time. Stay tuned to Journey Through Eras for more in-depth explorations of the historical events that continue to shape our world. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.